Another fairly simple one, a snowman's face. But on this one, what I'm trying to do is get you to look at some of the skills we've looked at before, where we're putting in the shading, we're putting in the curves, we're putting in the highlights. Okay, it's a really straightforward one. Just follow a few basic steps and you can't really go wrong with it. Right, let's make a start. So I'm going to put my head in. Make sure that if you're putting in a top hat, you've got room for the top hat. If you're putting in a smaller hat, obviously you can go wherever you want. Don't just copy my picture, be creative, come up with your own ideas as well. So think about woolly hats and all the rest of it. But if you want to do a top hat, this is how we do it. So I'm going to mark off really lightly to begin with my snowman's face, but because there's a hat going on the top that's going to be black, I'm going to leave some of that. I might need to fill in later, that doesn't matter. I'm going to be putting in a scarf as well. When I do my scarf, I'm not going to have it coming down straight. It's got to be with a curve, because curves always look better. And there's a little bit of the knot for the scarf, and then be a little bit of the snowman's body, but I'm not drawing a full snowman today, so I can just leave that there. Right. So, for this, that's my step one. To do my hat, I'm going to put a nice curve on it. If you don't do a curve, your picture ends up looking really flat. I want to keep it looking nice and rounded. I want it to look 3D. So I'm going to start almost towards the back of the brim of the hat. So it's going to be a little bit lower because it's further away. And then it's going to come up, following a nice curve. And it's going to fit like that. And then I'm going to just go around it. And as I come further forwards, just make it a little bit thicker on the front piece. Doesn't need much at all. There we go. And it just blends back in. This will all be nice and dark on the inside. This will be dark. I need to fill that back in with the white, but I knew that was going to happen, so that does not matter. And then I'm going to put on the top of the hat. And when I do it, I don't want it to go up straight. I could do it as a bowler hat actually, but this one's going to be a top hat. I'm going to do it with just a slight curve, and it is only slight, coming out. Try and keep both sides about the same. And can you see how the hat is, though the brim is a little bit higher, because the face is tilting back a little bit. If I was to be looking at the snowman directly face on, the brim is just above the eye line. It's not sitting on top of the snowman. The snowman's wearing the hat, so it comes down and it fits around his head. Right, so let's whiz on with this. Curve on the top as well. Got to keep those curved lines in, and the curve for the ribbon. Even though the paper's black, I'm still backfilling. And remember, we don't need to colour as we would with wax crayons or pencil crayons or felt tips, because this is just the dust that I'm applying. I'm leaving a little gap there because that's where I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. There's going to be some dust on there, but I don't need too much. I'm not going to do my shading completely yet. I'll do all the blending later. So let's go back and fill in some bits that need sorting. So I'm going to go back with my white, take that to the rim. I'm going to get my black. I'm going to fill the rim in, which I'm happy with that. All the way to the edge. And I'm going to put in my red ribbon. If you've drawn your head and you've got a bit of white in here, it doesn't matter. We'll just blend all of those colours in together and it's absolutely fine. There we go. And again, following the shape of the lines I've drawn. So if I've got a curved line, I'm going to be trying to blend along that curved line. If I want to change the shape of the object, I'll use my finger when I'm blending to change it as I go. Now I'm going to catch a little bit of light on this. I will also do the snowman's head as I'm doing it, just so you can see. So if I've got light coming in from this side, I don't want much, I want just a little bit of yellow, because it's a warm light. It's going to just catch the rim, because otherwise it's actually quite hard to see where the black is, but it just needs that little hint. Can you see I'm not pressing down, I'm not doing a strong yellow line like that. I'm just adding a hint of light onto it. And then I'm going to come down here and add a little bit of light just on this side. And then I'm going to just blend that across, because I don't want it to be too strong. It's just a hint of light being reflected. And because of the slight difference in texture with the red bit, I'll just change that a little bit so you can see that the red ribbon is not the same material as the black. That will do us. Right, there we go, there's my hat. You are going to get quite a lot of black on your fingers. If you've got black on your fingers, you do need to give them a bit of a rub, a bit of a clean, because otherwise when you start working on the white, all of that black is going to start coming into your face. I've got the white. I'm not blending my whites too much at this point. I'm going to focus now just on doing my shadow. So if you've done the other snowman picture, you'll know this. Don't bring the blues and the yellows together, because when you start blending, then you end up with green. So keep a little bit of a gap between them. You've got the hat here, so there's going to be a little bit more shadowing just on this side. Everything on this side is going to be a little bit bluer, everything on this side a little bit yellower. Don't overdo it, just a little bit, that's all we need. And then I'm going to start pulling those colours in. Because it's rounded, I'm not doing circles like that, I'm doing the whole thing blending in. So I'm bringing that yellow into the centre, and I brought that blue into the centre, and I'm quite greyish because I'm going to need a little bit more white in there. But that is absolutely fine, that's where I'm at so far. And then I like that blue there, I like my yellow there, but I just want a little bit more white in my centre area. Don't overdo it, because we've got other colours to go in as well, and we can always add a little bit more. If you add too much of the chalk dust or the pastel dust, the paper becomes saturated and you can't actually draw anything else on the top of it. What shall we do next? We'll do the scarf, because it's really easy. Often when people do the scarves, we'll sort of do them flat and shapeless, and there's no texture to it either. We're going to do it a little bit better than that. What we're going to do is, we've got that shape in, and we've mentioned about being rounded, and we're going to do a stripy scarf, just like this one, but we're going to make it look like it's nice and woolen, where there's a bit of texture. So I'm going to put in some lines with just slight gaps where it looks like it's a bit bobbly. Then I'm going to leave a little section for my other colour, and I'll do it that way. Once the scarf's wrapped round, the bit that's folded over will be going in the other direction. And can you see how I'm keeping just a little bit, not much, just a bit of a curve in my lines. Now it needs to go back to the flat side. Can you see I've left that little gap there, which is going to give me a little bit of shading and shadowing. And try and keep your gaps roughly the same, otherwise it looks a bit strange. Again, you pick your second colour. I'm going to go with green, because I think green and red looks nice and festive. So that's how you get a bit more texture into your scarf. And now to add a little bit more to it, I'm just going to go around. This side is going to be darker. We've said this is my darker side. So using the black, just a hint, and it is really just a hint. Under the chin. We're going to do full outlines later. So this isn't about putting an outline in, this is just to help with my shading. And any bits that we overdo, don't worry about it, because we can go back and give them a little tweak later. There we go. Right, that's the scarf pretty much finished. I'm not going to do any more than that. Actually, no, I will. on this side, because I've got that yellow light coming in, I'm just going to catch a few highlights. So this is on this side. It's just going to be catching a hint of yellow. Don't want too much. I'd say that line there is a little bit too much. Not a problem. Get the red, tone it back down. Get the green, tone it back down. Okay. I need to do a bit more at the bottom of the scarf, otherwise it finishes a bit erratically. There we go. Right. Maybe a little bit more black if we need it. Right, that's enough on that. Next thing, the nose. Right, so for my snowman's nose, I'm trying to make a carrot shape, which is a cone, come forwards. And if you look at a cone directly on, it's almost a circle. So that's why a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to draw a snowman's nose, and they draw it like that, which is almost a triangle. I'm going to do it a different way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw just a circle. Can you see I'm filling in with circles? I'm not just going across. And now, I know my light is coming in from this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some light with the yellow, like so. If you can't see what I'm doing, basically what I'm doing is this. So it's a series of slightly bigger curves each time. And then I'm going to do the opposite on the darker side. So I'm going to go just from here, and it's lighter than you possibly would do normally. If you do it too hard and too heavy, you can't really undo it. You just want a nice, gentle line. And then you're also going to have a few more lines along the top, because they're the actual shape of the carrot. You've got those lines on the carrot, haven't you? And that makes it now look like it's coming forwards, or it sort of does. It still needs a little bit of shadow. So I'm going back to my blue, and I'm going to put just a little bit of blue in there. And I could even add just a little bit of shading, soft shading, the black. I don't want it to look like a black carrot. I just want a slightly darker tone. Brown will work as well. There we go. That's a little bit much maybe, but I can just soften that out and tweak it as I go. So I'm going to get my orange back. We do a few lines. And that's me done. Right, so that's my nose now coming out slightly facing forward. I'm going to add just a little bit more black. Right, what next? Cheeks. Often when we do cheeks, we'll just get the red or the pink and we will do that, and it's just a red dot. We're going to do something a little bit more subtle. If we look at that, so all I'm going to do, I've mentioned this before, it's all about following the shapes. So I'm looking for that, and can you see how lightly I'm pressing down? So the colour is at the base. It's going into where the shadow is, that's fine. I'm not doing a full circle. What I'm doing is I'm just putting in almost a very, very shallow U shape, and then I'm going to use my finger to just blend that in. I'm a little bit mucky here really, I should wash my hands, but if I go and get to the sink, I can't do the video. Right, so I'm going to add a little bit more white in there. In fact, what I'll do is I'll show you how I do the top of my circle. So if I've got the darker and the red a bit on the bottom, I'm just going to make it catch the light a little bit on the top with a little bit more white to brighten it up. And you can probably guess a little bit, and it is just a little bit more yellow. My yellow light is coming in from this side, and it does not take much. Right, And then I'm going to put in just a little bit of shading. I'll do it with the blue. Just under here. And under there. And that will be my cheeks. Now, my eyes. Cold for the eyes. So you could just do circles. I'm going to make them a slightly more irregular shape. But when I draw them, I'm going to make sure I'm leaving a nice white dot in the corner. And then I'll go back and I'll fill that white and make it as bright as I can. I want my black to be really strong at this point as well. While I've got the black, the next thing I'll also do is, because I'm using it, put in some eyebrows. Try and get them the same size. One's a little bit thicker than that one, a bit more curved, so I'll just tweak this one a little bit. And I think that's about done. There we go. And now for a smile on this one. I did a little lopsided smile. I can see I also put in a little bit more of a chin shape. I'll just do something a little bit simpler on this one because my cheeks are already done in. I'm just going to very gently mark off the underside of my cheeks. Go like that. And then I'm going to open up my mouth. There we go. So that's my mouth. It's still snow, but it's going to be quite shaded. If the light's coming in that way, it's going to be quite dark over here. Add a bit of blue in there as well. If you're doing really fine things and you're finding that your fingers are a little bit too big, you can always use a cotton bud or something like that. There we go. So that's the inside of my mouth. My whites next to it are looking a little bit dark in comparison, so I'm going to just go around and tidy a few bits up. So you're never quite finished, there's always that little bit more to do. So don't think that because you've done it once, it's all done. You can always tweak it. What else am I doing now? A bit of a blend. That in like so. Maybe a little bit brighter in the centre of the face. If it's getting too bright, just use your finger to blend it in a little bit. I think we're pretty much done. Right, so I'm just going to do my final outlines now. So goes around with a bit of black. Ooh, maybe a sprig of holly in the hat might look quite nice. That's up to you. That looks a little bit rounded there, so I'm going to just straighten that in a little bit. There we go. Sprig of holly, yeah, why not? So I can't see the bottom of the holly because that is where the hat will be. Mark off where the berries will be. If you are doing this, you are probably better planning it in advance rather than what I'm doing, which is where I'm just throwing it in at the top. But this just proves that you can just keep playing with it until you're happy. Now, because this is quite fine detail, I am using the chalk or the pastel, more like a normal colouring in at this point. And then a little bit of yellow. Catching that light again. And just tone that yellow down with a little bit of white. Not too much, otherwise it looks like it's glowing. And now I'm going to go back with my reds. And just that centre line down the ivy. I think that looks about right. Right, we'll call that done. So, how to draw a snowman.